The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Rev. And as you can see, I had another...
You've been busy.
We had a very long meeting today. The retirement board, we had a lot of retirements to deal with and other business of the board. And so it ran a little longer and some complicated cases. But listen, as usual, we have to begin the
crime report.
Hate to do this all the time, but it just doesn't seem that we can just get out of this because our mayor will not do anything about crime. So we're going to pose a question to our illustrious mayor who didn't want to talk about affordable housing at the affordable housing meeting, but then decided to talk about his feeble attempt at doing anything about affordable housing at his State of the City address, but he won't talk about crime. Okay, for this again, we have we have photos of these little things.
You're going to be out of black ink soon.
I know, I mean, and colored ink too, because I've got some other stuff that's colored, as you do over here. Photo courtesy goes to Alex Urbanek with this. According to what has been reported, there was a shooting last night at approximately 11 o'clock at Colville Street. Well, Colville Street, that's the Flint. During his call, he stated he only heard shots fired, but did not physically see those shots go off. But Alex Urbanek provided the video footage from this residence. The video shows a car riding on Colville Street, turns left onto Doyle. After stopping on that street, the shooter exits his vehicle and literally begins firing shots, as shown below. This matter is now under investigation. I wonder if it's going to be investigated like everything else. It never gets solved. But they should solve this one. And any new details that will that come, we'll inform you right away. They even attached the picture.
And circled the alleged perpetrator.
Circled the alleged perpetrator who was firing shots. Now, we don't know whether he's firing shots at a building or, I don't know, trying to shoot bats or pigeons. I don't know. But there's a guy in the middle of the street, and it's a little, it's a little hazy, right? It's kind of like you can say, oh, it's not total clarity. But, when you're standing in the middle of the street, your feet side by side, and you got a position like this, it's normally you got a gun in your hand, because it's one of the positions that you use to fire. So now, I guess we have to ask the question that comes to mind now. I've been pondering that since I got this, waiting for Wednesday to come, because I got this on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. We have to ask our mayor, how many bullet holes in your house do you have to have before it's considered a problem? I know that he dismissed one person because he only had one bullet hole in his house. Be gone, peasant. Are you saying we have a problem in this city, even though there's shootings all over? I don't have a bullet hole in my house. So I guess the salient question here is, how many bullet holes does it take in somebody's house before our mayor will do something about it? Do something about crime, period. And this it's a disgrace. I mean, crime is running rampant And, you know, we have to start every show with something like this. BB guns being fired at people, shots being fired, stabbings. But our, you know, Captain Clueless wanders around
Polly
and pretends that nothing's happening. Just like when he tried to take the 11 million, and I've got to get that actually.
Oh no, we might as well get into that now, because he went on the radio to defend himself.
Yeah, well, that's an absolute. You know, he went in and he wants $11 million because he just blows money, and we got
Right.
another example that you brought in today.
Right.
Of him blowing money on nothing. Nothing to ever help the people. It's always some BS to give somebody a job.
And it's going to give a job.
And give a profit, a for-profit organization money.
Yep.
You know, not a non-profit, but a for-profit.
And here's how they channeled that money through them. It went through the South Coast Chamber Foundation, and then
Oh yeah, the Chamber Foundation, better known as
the nonprofit.
the nonprofit. Yeah, that's horse manure. So let me get this. Well, let's frame this for the people. Paulie Pockets is looking to line everybody else, his friends' pockets, by getting a home rule petition, which fundamentally violates the law. He wants to count bus money, which is local, not statute. It's not part of statute. He wants to free up another 11 million to pad this, so we won't know we're in bankruptcy. So, I believe this. I've got a few. Let me.
But we clearly owe the occupants of public housing in
No,
Massachusetts.
that's the wrong one.
nationwide.
That's the wrong one. Right? Wait, this is the one. Okay, this is Fall River School Committee. What is this one? No, this is the one because I watched it last night.
But that doesn't need to take away
Nope.
efforts
No,
from
again, that's him again. I must have this thing for walking clubs.
Well, skip it.
Go ahead.
It's
No,
not closed.
I got it. It's the other one. So now I know which one it is. Okay. And it is this one.
And you, Kevin, I believe, said, well, this isn't precedent. Normally, we don't put it publicly until it's an official. It's an issue.
I can get to it pretty quickly now.
Well, basically what the mayor wants
But
to do.
I want you to hear his
You're
words.
presenting, what he presented would be a cut of $11 million because we can't absorb that. Now, there's an issue in the state with transportation, and you know from, we've been on this board for a long time. I've been one of the chief.
Okay, here it is. This is where he. Come on, yes. So, what happened to the audio here?
That is. So I'm glad that we're getting some at least clarity on what it is and what it's not. And I don't think that the mayor wants to cut education by 11 million.
With transportation, I'm just in fear
I
that
hate this.
the helping us
These things.
is gonna hurt our kids. So with that, I yield.
Anything further, Mr. Yeah.
Yeah, just, Ms. Almeida, I'm just going to ask you, if the home rule petition that the mayor mentioned at the state of the city goes through, is that an $11 million cut to education?
Yes.
That's it.
It's very clear
Yes,
that's
it
what
is a
it is.
cut.
So-
Now, Paulie Pockets was on the radio doing spin. You know who that was who was speaking? The CFO. Mm-hmm. Now, we got a mayor that thinks everybody is so stupid that they're going to disregard what the CFO said. He said it. No big explanation. Just a flat answer. Is it a cut? Yes. Not maybe. I'm not sure.
No interpretation necessary.
Yes.
No interpretation necessary.
It's a cut. Paulie Pockets is trying to spin this. Well, guess what? Paulie Pockets never worked a budget in his life. As far as I know, he was a guidance counselor, then he became a vice principal.
Right.
He never worked on a budget. He walked around with his hands in his pockets. As mayor, he gives out masks and and
Hand
runs
sanitizer.
movies and hand sanitizers and stuff. Who does he have to make up a budget? Because he can't, I don't think, we know he's mathematically challenged. He hires somebody like Mary Sahadi, who's a CPA, chief financial officer. So in the school department, they got a chief financial officer. That chief financial officer, who was supposed to be an expert, and the people who are actually doing the budget, says, yes, this is a cut. And he has the temerity, the audacity to go on the radio the next day and try to BS the people. You know, it isn't, you know, I'm going to try to, and what did he say? What did he say? When he was pressed on it, like, well, you know, they said, well, we're going to try to work around it.
That's right.
That's what he does, works around the law. The guy who says, I obey the law, says, we'll work around it. Just like you worked around the pay raise for your staff when the city council said no to those pay raises and you gave them an illegal pay raise. You worked around it. Just like when we have an ordinance that says we don't pick up private trash, yet we're picking up 261 private entities' trash. You worked around that too, didn't you, Paul? Taking care of your pals. Always make sure you give the pay raises. This is a cut. And then later on, the superintendent of schools, and I'm not, because this is just too painful trying to get this on the show. We've got to try to get a little bit better way, because I get this stuff on Messenger, and you can't transfer it over
Right.
where you can crop it. Superintendent of schools then also commented she complimented Nelson on his presentation.
Right.
Showing that we're 335th, the bar graphs, the 22%, the same thing they were presenting he had. Did his
Right.
homework. And she said, that was a very good presentation. And then she said the magic words, and we'll get that. It'll be on our website at some point in time. When the superintendent of schools said, you're right, Mr. Vasquez, throwing money at a problem is not the way to fix it.
Exactly.
And that's case closed. You lied about it, you're cutting it because you need more money. You're blowing ARPA money, and you didn't spend one dime to help the people of Fall River who are being crushed by rents and fees because you don't care. So, again, we know he's lying. He's going to go on there and spin again like a top. And then he's going to use words like, we'll get around it. This is the guy who said, I obey the law. He's not going to say, I'm going to obey the law. I'm going to use net school spending the way it's supposed to be used, statutory. No, I'm going to change the rules. This is not just it's not the haves and the have-nots. It's the connected and the disconnected. The regular people are disconnected from this cabal. They get everything they want. They change the rules. They change definitions. They change the law. He wants to change the law. And again, and then he's going to try to lie about it. He's going to try to, it's not a cut. Well, it is. Your CFO. And by the way, the next time you have a plumbing problem, Paul, call your electrician. Because apparently you're not going to listen to your CFO, the guy you pay to tell you how to use the money.
Right, right. And, you know, if you had heard his, because it was a call-in show, it wasn't even an interview. So this is where he could spew his information, which, by the way, they usually limit to 2 or 3 minutes time. They didn't limit the mayor because, hey, he's the mayor.
And he probably had his plants calling in.
Yep, and, you know, We Suck at Radio does that all the time.
Yeah.
And he turned around and he says, you know, I intend to file this home rule petition, not so that Fall River gets carte blanche, but so that we can generate the conversation about transportation and net school spending.
Oh,
Because he knows, like we said after his State of the City address, you can't file a home rule petition on a state law. You have to file a home rule petition on your own charter.
yeah. So he wants $11 million to start a conversation.
Right.
I'll tell you what, Paul, you want to have a conversation with me, I'll only charge you $6 million. Give us a call. We'll have you on a show. We can have a conversation. Come on down. We don't care. We'll have a conversation for a lot less money. That you're going to go up to Boston and try to look. This is what he's really good at, a con job. The reorganizations to give his friends raises and stuff. And then what does he do again? Spends like a drunken sailor. And here's what CJ brought in.
$670,000 in ARPA funds.
$670,000 in ARPA money for a tourism study. And then this is the good part of this sentence, because there is actually it's a semicolon,
Yep.
which is a longer hesitation. Mayor, let's read this with a semicolon. Mayor grants $670,000 in ARPA funds to study tourism. Longer pause. Some wonder if it will be money well spent. Well, Joe, I'm going to give you my opinion. It's money thrown in the toilet to some of his friends to do the studies. Because we all know how good tourism works in Fall River. We're between Newport and the Cape. Nobody's going to stop here. We got people getting out of their cars and shooting up the place. You're going to put this in a brochure? You know, Linda, give it a rest. I know you want to give somebody a job. You've been trying for about 5 years to get that tourism director in here.
And they talk about that in this article by the Herald News. Pereira, who chairs the Council's Economic Development and Tourism Subcommittee, said she was surprised to have learned just recently from the Herald News that a 24-page contract had been signed for the $670,000 ARPA appropriation 6 months ago. 6 months ago, and nobody knew about it.
What? You mean the transparency mayor? The transparency mayor.
Despite conversations since with the mayor's staff on her desire to hire a city-funded tourism head. In the past, city councils have appropriated money for tourism staffer, but those line items never exceeded $100,000.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice little salary for somebody.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. When you go into the story further, you'll find the city contract with One South Coast Chamber Foundation, a nonprofit, and Viva Fall River, a for-profit, has very specific monthly goals set out for the first year of the agreement from September 2022 through their at least much less defined goals in the second year.
So what it means is it's all crap, because you know they got these goals. You know what these goals are? Just give us some line of crap. What are we going to say? Are we going to say like they did that the carousel was going to bring in 500,000 tourists? That bringing in a battleship was going to have thousands of people come into Fall River? Well, you know, this is crap. Listen. Tourism, number one, even in cities that can actually have a robust tourism, doesn't work. Just look at Miami, South Beach. Miami was one of the biggest crap holes. They had, the people who lived in Miami, it was crime-ridden. South Beach brought in hundreds of millions of dollars into that city. We got a new mayor, but it still doesn't go away. They just had a shooting down there during spring break. They had riots, they had near riots, they had fight clubs in the middle of the beach. They had people assaulting each other just for fun because drunken overdoses on fentanyl.
Well, what's interesting?
But you know, tourism brings money to a city, but it's proven that most of the time in these corrupt cities like Fall River, the money never helps the people.
Right.
Like Atlantic City, classic example. The boardwalk brought in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to gambling, and now they're losing a lot because now they got it now in Pennsylvania. They got it in Philly, 40 miles down the road, so they've lost a lot. But it brought in billions of dollars.
Yeah.
But if you walked off the boardwalk, you were in a ghetto. Atlantic City was a disaster. They even did an article about how the money was never reinvested in the community. Give it a rest, you tourism pinheads. Fall River is never going to ever be able to justify paying somebody full-time to try to get that as some type of industry in Fall River that makes a dent in our economy, because it won't. And if you can prove to me that some tourist from the Midwest is going to be driving down here and he go, let's see, where are we going to go next? Oh, we're going right by Newport, Rhode Island. Let me see Newport, Rhode Island. Tennis Hall of Fame, 12-mile drive, Cliff Walk, Brick Market, Thames Street, all these places to eat, all these hotels to stay at. Oh, wait, here's Fall River. One hotel, #1 in crime, people getting out of their cars, shooting up the place. And then, if we drive a little bit farther, we're in Cape Cod, historic Cape Cod. The two largest tourist meccas in southeastern New England. Newport, Rhode Island, and where they used to hold the America's Cup, and Cape Cod. And you've got a city like Fall River, and you're going to try to con the people. And then this bozo gives $670,000 for another study. You know, people, when you get your water bill and your tax bill goes up not as much as it will the following year after the election, because he's going to cushion it with ARPA money, remember, this guy does nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nobody knows anything. Contract signed 6 months ago.
Yep. Now, this is the interesting thing. The city's contract with One South Coast Chamber and Viva Fall River has very specific monthly goals, as I said earlier. Among the first-year goals, the contract calls for Viva Fall River to hire a data researcher and also a so-called events coordinator that Aiken said would work from City Hall to guide organizations through city permitting and other requirements for events, all within the first 6 months of the agreement. But to date, the contract with UMass Dartmouth that Aiken said is valued at $48,000 had not been finalized, nor has the events coordinator position not been selected. The pay for that position is not to exceed $48,000 a year, plus benefits. And they're going to work out of the city of Fall. They're going to work out of government center, which means that's another government job.
You know, it's another job for some. But listen, well, I'm glad you hit that first, CJ, because let me remind everybody in the city. While Paulie Pockets was wandering around, pulling out masks from his pocket, this guy is saying how he's going to coordinate with people to streamline the permitting process. What did Taunton do during the recall? Their mayor wasn't handing out masks and hand sanitizers. They were revamping their permitting process. The city itself had a streamlined methodology to do this with the people that are already employed. Isn't that amazing that the city of Taunton figured out a way to do it without hiring a whole bunch of new people? So already there's 2 new jobs. This guy, I mean, we'll have as many city employees as New York City shortly. That's all this guy knows how to do. And Seth Aikens, you know, he doesn't even live in his city. So number one, it's all hyperbole. This is BS to the infinite degree.
Now listen to this, which I gotta give Linda Pereira and Laura Washington credit, and I never do that. You know that, okay? I don't really call out. Laura Ferreira says the concept is great, said Ferreira, but I have some concerns. A contract was signed for a lot of money in September with deliverables that need to be met within 6 months, and here we are 6 months later, and none of those have been met. She said she also questions why the city needs a middleman when we can pay the vendor, UMass Dartmouth, ourselves. Since One South Coast Chamber represents both Fall River and New Bedford and surrounding communities, Pereira and Ferreira both expressed concerns of Fall River ARPA money is being used for programs outside the city.
Yeah, well, you know, CJ, how about this brilliant idea? Instead of throwing money around, giving everybody jobs, why don't we do it this way? Why doesn't the city streamline its permitting process for everybody?
Right.
And do it with our own people,
That's
okay?
right.
And why don't we have this Chamber of Commerce that's already telling the people who make good money, they're always saying, don't tax us anymore, give us a tax cut so we can take our money to the South Coast, not the Fall River. Why doesn't the Chamber of Commerce get all the businesses to create their own tourism thing? Let's get the
They do,
restaurant-
they have one.
Yeah, and is it working?
The
No.
Bristol County- the
Yeah,
Bristol County
but they're
Visiting
asking
Bureau.
us
Yes.
for money,
Right.
for a study.
Right.
That's how good it's working.
Right.
You know, this is, look, if you're sick and tired of getting your pocket picked, if you're sick and tired of living, wondering if you can afford your rent, you got to get rid of these people. They just don't know how to run an efficient government. And they don't care how much money they spend. Another $670K for what? A study. And you know, they're going to get upset with us because we're rude. So I had to get into this one.
Yep.
SJC says it's okay to be rude at public meetings. Speakers at public meetings are held free to channel their inner revolutionaries. Now that the state's highest court has ruled that Massachusetts law protects the right to be, quote, rude, personal, and disrespectful to public figures, unquote. So get over it, Linda. Don't get up and say, I'm not going to listen to them calls names. They shouldn't be doing that in this chamber. It's not right. Well, guess what? It's legal. It's legal, okay? And it says there will naturally be some sort of limit for allowable speech. Fighting words that would provoke violence are not protected speech. It is perfectly reasonable, the court said, to have, restrictions. Our local government bodies may want to take a close look at their meeting rules. While it might sound like a supportive policy to insist, as Southborough did, that remarks be courteous and kind, and the restraint is now clearly unconstitutional in the state of Massachusetts. So let's call you the useless bags of that you are. So, next one. Superior Court, Herald News, Superior Court orders DA to release records of family of a man killed by police. And it said they were ordered by the court
Yep.
to release these records because we have a right to these records. And this is what the judge said. How the judge made the ruling. This is the long article. It was in the Herald News. Go look at it.
I've read it.
Yep. And
I've read the decision.
Yep. And it said, Boudreaux's ruling. He indicated DA's office argued two main points for withholding information under the public records law, which allowed exemptions that information can be released. But first, that the disclosure of the public officials' names would constitute an invasion of privacy rights of those individuals. And the second point, that was that certain records were exempt from public law, quote, because they related to the agency's investigatory techniques. Now, Boudreaux allowed the release of all records that Mac requested, finding Quinn's arguments are, listen to this, all you people that, especially you, Paulie Pockets, that doesn't want to release anything, that his argument and your arguments are, quote, overwhelmed by the public's right to know. Failure to disclose this information would raise questions among the public about why this information was being withheld, which only would serve to undermine the integrity of the law enforcement departments and then reviewing their conduct. So remember that. You should be overwhelmed by the public's right to know. You don't tell us anything, and it's about time you do.
Well, I want to thank you all for watching. Time flies so fast around here. We never have enough. Thanks for watching. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, hold your politicians accountable, and we'll see you on Friday. Have a great day.